Hello. Oh, hello, 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 and hello for anyone that is here saying hello. It's a bit warm. Sorry, a bit warm. It's live, so hey. I'm a bit warm. Ah, there. Usually I start with music, all of my videos, everything. And that is a piece that's very close to my heart. Thank you, Tia. Thank you, Lisa. Thank you, Rihanna Sanati. Wonderful comments from you, Rihanna. I've been answering your comments. Yes, thank you to all who have tuned in. Yes, Tia, hello to you. We did meet on Skype, and we decided that you needed a violoncelle gauchère. And so yes, let's get right to it. My name is Jonathan, as you probably already know. And today I am answering your questions and making sure that all of you are happy and, well, enjoying life, because I have to say, I'm going to be back. Okay, I'm almost back. I'm going to be back, and it's been a long time. And so I'm going to start with some questions that I have already addressed. So on the channel, anything before 2022, I may be answering some of those, but all of the questions have been answered since 2022. So let's get right to some of the questions that I found to be quite interesting, and I like to address with you here. And any questions that, of course, anyone brings up here. But first, I want to take these questions that I've already prepared, because they're interesting and they really affect each and every one of us. Oh, there's a lot of words right there. So I'm going to read it out to you. Bring it up right here. This video question was on the video, Are Expensive Cello Strings Worth It? Here are my thoughts. This is from 6 months ago, and I apologize to you, to the McCafferty family. Yes, but anyway. So here are my thoughts after playing cello 2 years with strings that came with it. You can read along if you want to. Finally tried Larsen Magnacore Arioso set. I feel the playability is improved, but is it worth it? Probably not. I definitely am getting a slight improved tone. For me, the biggest improvement is responsiveness of the C string and the pleasantness of the open A. On the old strings, I found the C to be much harder to sound, and I felt behind time. And on these strings, response feels instant. The open A sounds less harsh to my ears. If I bow a note and take the bow off the strings, there is really a long resonant sustain that I didn't get before. Possibly those improvements could have been done with a more intermediate set, which is probably what I would try next time I change strings. So thank you to the McCafferty family. And Tia has also noticed that when she changed from helichord to Yadiger, there was an improvement as well. Yes, the answer is, are expensive strings worth it? And in the video, I purchased the top string. And the answer is, it really depends upon your cello. You really have to go into the minutiae, the details of the various strings. And some strings just aren't built for certain types of instruments. The Magnacore particularly are built for antique instruments. If you read the fine print, that's what it says. Yet what's interesting about this particular post, I wanted to highlight, my thoughts after playing 2 years of cello, then changes the strings. So first off, you ought to have changed the strings much sooner than 2 years. 2 years, you should change the strings at least once every 18 months maximum. They stretch and wear out over time. But there's an absolute truth when it comes to the responsiveness of a proper string. Now, you may not think it's important, but it is. Even on my cello here, my teaching cello, my NS teaching cello, I have helichords. And just like Tia has put helichord to Yadiger, I'm going to want to change these to Yadigers at least, because I feel the responsiveness matches my cello playing style. And what she said was interesting, is that it felt like the C string was much harder to sound, and I felt behind time. A little parentheses, if my dog barks, my apologies, so I will try to make her quiet. Anyway, she said she felt behind time. And that's interesting, because when you see a note and you want to play that note, you want it to instantly sound. You want it to give you the sound right at the inception. And a quality string that doesn't slice through the cello in a metaphorical sense, but just resonates through the instrument, works with the instrument. And these Danish strings, Yadiger and Larsen, the best thing about these strings, they are both companies started by cellists. And that's all you need to know. So for me, anyone who's obsessed with making a really good cello string, then you would definitely check out Yadiger and Larsen. Yet, there are other great strings out there, and one of the videos I recently read, almost like a trolling comment saying, oh, those are expensive. Yes, strings are expensive, so lightly go about this, okay? I say Yadiger is a good set of standard strings. I put them on all of my students' instruments. If they're ever in doubt, slap a pair of Yadiger mediums on there, okay? So what was interesting is they could have had a more intermediate, best have been done with a more intermediate set, which is probably what I would have done next time, change strings. And what's interesting about this change that the McCafferty family has now done is that once you gotta go one string, right? You're gonna now, you kind of gone to like the top. Larsens are considered some of the best strings in the world, cello players. Once you kind of go away from that, the particular way a Larsen string is wound. And to really understand what this is, it's something you really can't highlight by zooming in. It's something that you experience as you play the string. So sorry about that. Sorry, there might be some interruptions with me and the puppy. So I want to make this as good as possible. My puppy's name is Mochi. And so there it is. Oh, hello, consciousness. Hi, Jonathan. Thank you for who you are. No, thank you for tuning in. And if any of you have tuned in or are not subscribed to the channel, please subscribe. I want to get to 40,000 subscribers, well, soon, and I'm trying to get there. So subscribe, put on your notifications so we can get a more engaging. And before I go any further, I'm going to be definitely uploading more. Like I said, if you've been following the channel, this is getting much better. I can play more cello, and I can certainly make more videos. So to your question right now, I'm reading, thank you for who you are. Thank you for tuning in. The best sound production. Is it best to bow by placing the bow hair totally flat on the strings or slightly angled toward the body? Let's get right to it. Thank you very much for that question right there. So mochi, yeah, that's right. Mochi, like the Japanese candy. Well, the answer is, and this is why I have those little little animals. So let me find one of those animals real quick to really push this home. See if I have one here. I need a chicken. We're going with the chicken. If you're wondering why I'm wearing headphones, it's because my microphone is connected to these headphones. Right. So, without further ado, let's talk about this. And I'm gonna just put that right there. We're gonna perch our chicken up here at the top right there. There's a little chicken. And you probably see me do this. Your bow, and this is always a question about it, it's at a slight angle, okay? Do you see how you can see through my bow? You see that right there? And as you know, you can look through it. Now what I usually tell my students, there we go, I usually tell my students on Skype is, what you need to do is turn your bow just a bit so you don't see through it anymore. Just about right there. You can't see my eyes anymore. There it is. It's the same thing down here with your bowing. Place it on the string, flat as can be if you wish, and then turn it. You're looking about this area right here, just above the garniture, and turn it just where you cannot see it anymore. Now you see right here, the hair is below, the baguette is above, okay? So, what's interesting about this, you can get these little guys right here, these, and I'll show you this. These are little like things you can use to open up a cooking pot, yeah? When you use one of these little 13-gram weights, and this is what I absolutely love about what I discovered with these, because I was trying to have people, hold the bow up. You need to feel the bow. When you place it flat like this, the chicken, and I'm perching my chicken, what happens is it rolls forward. If I place it, it rolls forward. So you need to hold it and balance it so it's, see that? Now it's no longer rolling forward, and that's optimal. So if you want to go grab one of these little cooking silicone things, then farm animals, you certainly can do that. Here we have it right here. It's balancing nicely. And all you need to do now, because you have a torte bow, so it's weighted. I'm just going to remove the chicken for a moment. 2 fingers on this side, nothing else. Going to just push, and I'm going to pull. 2 fingers. If you have your cello right now in front of the screen, then maybe you should try to do this with me, okay? So we're going to do the same thing, all right? We're going to push, and pull. So start here in the middle of your bow. Okay, look through it. Turn the bow so you can barely not look through it anymore. And then just with 2 fingers, treating this right here, the rosin and everything, as another thing, thing to hold it up. And that's all you have to do with your thumb here in the between the garniture and the talon, and the index finger hooked around the garniture, and then pushing from the elbow. I'll talk about that a little bit later. Let me correct my, get my dad out of the picture there. Here we go. So we're going to do this 2 fingers only, no pressure. And then 2 fingers, no pressure, pulling again from the elbow. And what you're essentially doing when you're balancing consciousness is that you're balancing the entire stick above the hair. So it's literally using its mass, using gravity to apply that pressure. So to demonstrate this, I'm going to 2 fingers. I'm going to only do 2 fingers and go completely flat. And becomes much more difficult, especially right here. I'm really trying to hold it up. And it's also not controlled. Again, 2 fingers, turning it on its side, okay, angling it so I can barely see through it. It's much easier to make a sound because now you're using the gravity of everything. Now I'm going to allow my whole arm to weigh in. So it's always a very slight angle. You want to use the weight of your arm. Another thing is look at your wrist. Again, if you have your cello right now, I suggest you pull it out. Look at your wrist. If you place it flat, look what happens. My wrist is bent, yes? And I want to be able to lead with the wrist. I'm going to talk about that a little bit later in my live stream. I'm going to want to lead with the wrist, but I can't do that because it's bent already. If it's already flat, then I can do this. There's a lot more to use, but if I do this, see the difference? It's much more difficult to create a good tone when your bow, your bow arm wrist is always bent. We start with it like this, and so slightly turn it. Use the baguette above the hair. Now, what's interesting about this whole concept is that the violin, when they're playing, they are naturally using the baguette the entire time. But they also turn it this way as well. They turn it this way because of various reasons with the angling of the bone structure and keeping that wrist in motion. So it's not flat. So it's the same thing. You, as a cellist, we do differently. So we want to use that baguette to help us create that sound. And also now the whole arm can weigh in. Last thing I'm going to show you is go back to flat bow. And then what you're going to do is I'm going to just drop my arm and see what happens. Drop my arm and see how it rolls this direction. Drop my arm, it's a sort of like rolling. You don't want that to happen. You want this to happen. Drop your arm and it slides back down. Once you turn it this way, like vroom vroom, turn it like a vrooming on a motorcycle, turn it this way and drop it, and then you see how the bow catches, and then you weigh down into the bow as opposed to this direction, flat. See that? When you drop your arm, when you use the weight of your arm, because that's what you want to do, use the weight of your arm. This, I can use the weight of my arm. But this way, totally flat, when I use the weight of my arm, it completely makes me go out of sync. So, good question. Another question from Kunga06. Hello to you. Thank you for joining my live stream today. Thank you. You're welcome. You're welcome. Kunga, hi. What's the best song to learn first? That's a great question, Kunga06. And the answer is whatever song you want, honestly. When you join my studio, and also when you join other people's studios, you usually have an idea of what you want to do. There's a reason why you got the instrument. There's a reason why you are watching this channel. There's a reason why you're learning cello. There's reasons for all of these things. there's a song, there's a sound, there's a dream that you want to achieve. I call it a journey that you travel on. And as you travel along this journey of music discovery, you will find songs that you really want to play, that you dream of playing, and that even songs that maybe intimidate you, but you think that you can, get yourself brave enough to take the challenge. Those are your songs. Write them all down. I use the reference of the Lord of the Rings in the sense where I am your Gandalf, the long hair, and sometimes I have the beard, and you are Bilbo Baggins, and various or one of the party, and we start on our quest to go slay Smaug. The first thing we do is when we're right out of the Shire, there's a goblin that you need to take care of. So you want to, quickly do a song that gives you some hearts, if you will. If you play Zelda and you can get hearts in video games and stuff, so you want to do something to give yourself some happiness. So a song that you can learn in less than 30 days, if that. Really get it good, and then 6 months from now, write another song down, and I call it the foothills. When you're on the foothills going up to the mountain, that's the one that it's going to take you about 3 to 6 months to do, or even 90 days up to 6 months to do. That song will take some practice, but you'll get there. And then the last song that you write, 3 songs on this list, should be a song that's I call top of the mountain. You're slayed Smaug, and you're there, and you have the Ring of Power. I'm probably mixing the two stories. But what is that dream song? And for some of us, our dreams have been cut short or interrupted by injury or other things. And so I have my list of top of the mountain songs, and I'm going to start slaying those dragons. But you, if you're starting your quest, Kunga06, then you need to find a song that's really easy for you to approach just right out of the Shire. Again, I'm going to make a video game reference, okay? When you start any of these role-playing video games like Legend of Zelda, you don't really have a good weapon. You don't really have good armor. You just start very basic. And what are the monsters that you have to, and the foes that you have to face? They're also really basic too. But you learn a lot in those very first few battles in any RPG. It's the same thing. So you want to pick songs that teach you things. So songs like simple songs that you can play by memory, songs that you know by heart, even songs like Happy Birthday, universal songs, Happy Birthday, Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, Row Your Boat, all those songs that you don't need to look at the notes. The whole core of what Suzuki method is all about is the oral way. Teacher goes there, teacher plays, student watches, student regurgitates and plays it back. That's the whole oral Suzuki method. That's really the basis of it, which is great because, as you notice, a lot of the Suzuki method has a lot of very basic songs. So what is the first song that you should learn to play? Honestly, it should be an easy song that you can do within 30 days and a song that you enjoy. Now, if it's a song that's super difficult, or maybe a song that no one's ever done before, maybe you will obsess over for a while, then do it. I never tell my students to ever, turn down something. Good example is a student many years ago wanted to play the song Imagine Dragons Radioactive. And it was a totally different key signatures. And so she obsessed over it. She was able to play it. And that was the first song she played. I had another student from South Africa, Dimitri, and he obsessed over this one. Obsessed over it. And he was a beginner too. Hello, Alicia. Happy to have you along. I dream of playing many songs. However, all of them are well above my current skill level. LOL. Well, Alicia, top of the mountain. Tier your levels, okay? First tier is songs you want to play. Alicia did a really good circle of life, okay? Continue along that way. You're welcome, Kunga06. The next song, Alicia, you want to get to is something that requires, again, you're taking lessons with me. And if those of you who are watching or know someone who wants a cello teacher, get in contact with me. My studio doors are virtually open, and you'll be able to enjoy everything that this can provide. By the way, I love doing that, the 4 angle. So anyway, Alicia, pick a song that it's something you really like. okay? But also stuff that you will, they give you, those little building blocks of happiness, okay? So back to our great questions, everyone. Here's a question that is more of, well, a story, and I'm bringing it up because, thank you, Dark D Flame. I bring this up because I have a confession, not a confession, just I'm going to need to read this to you, and this is from 8 months ago. It's from Maddie Dano, and anyway, I'm going to read it, and this is from How to Play Cello Without Squeaking, Left Hand Tips. I started playing cello in the 4th and 5th grades, then stopped after graduating, I guess primary school, since I did not own a cello at the moment. I got my cello last year, therefore I am now in the 11th grade and trying to get back into playing. However, when I play, it makes screech and squeaks and my arm now hurts whenever I bow. I can't play an open string without it sounding screechy and squeaky. Is there any advice? I love cello, and my mom just bought it for me. However, I'm feeling discouraged to continue playing because of how bad it sounds, and I'm thinking of just quitting and playing the drum sets. By the way, there's nothing wrong playing the drum set. Maddie Dano, 8 months ago, you asked me a question, and I was honestly, I was just not answering any of my comments, and I'm sorry, Maddie Dano, and I really hope you do play cello still, because sometimes I have left comments and I've heard your stories, and my job is to help you guys just stay afloat and stay happy and stay inspired, and I wasn't there for you. I'm just a stranger. I'll never meet you, but I'm sorry, Maddie Dano, for not being there for you. I hope that you continue to play cello, and I hope that the screeches and the squeaks eventually will go away, but from the bottom of my heart, I'm sorry I ignored your comment, and I would have definitely reached out to you had I read it at the time. Okay, so sorry about that. And from going forward, I'm checking my comments on the daily. I'm answering all your comments like I usually do. Sudha Rao, could you please do videos of the Swan Ave Maria? Those are 2 songs. I'll follow your fingerings like I do in the other pieces. Of course, Ave Maria is, I place the Ave Maria from Bach or the Ave Maria from Schubert. You have to be, and the Swan, of course, I will do the original version in the foreseeable future. Absolutely. You reminded me of a lady I knew, Sudeshna. She was wonderful. Now on a happier note. Sorry, I had to get all emo for a second because I really feel bad about ignoring that comment. This is from Alex Price. If you check out Alex Price on YouTube, he is a YouTuber and he's great. I love him. And he's helped me out. He's a guitarist and a young guy and great. Wait, this is on the Henderson Bud 10 amplifier electric cello video. I love the sideburns. Thanks, Alex. I always reach out to you. A great video. Another thing to keep in mind, by the way, we're talking about electric cellos at the current moment. So for those of you out there who are unfamiliar, I'm a huge fan of the NS cello and things electric. So, for those of you, just be patient. This is part of everything. So let's go right to this. Alex Price says, another thing to keep in mind would go along with your mention of picking out an amp specifically designed for piezo pickup is impedance. Piezo pickups notoriously have a very high impedance and will sound choke through an amp meant to be used for magnetic pickups. I did not know that. Once again, younger generation teaching me. I personally picked out the Fishman Loudbox years ago, but I used these Hendrickson amps and they're fantastic. Definitely worth the money over the Fishman. If you can find an old Trace Elliott amp, even better, though they're really heavy. So thank you once again to you, Alex Price, for talking about impedance. I did not know that piezo pickups notoriously have high impedance and choke amps that are meant for magnetic pickups. So thank you once again, Alex. Comment from Dark D Flame. Some old videos with sheet music links to the drive no longer exist. I would love to follow your videos. Is there a chance that you can restore the links? By the way, you are very inspiring. Love Danse Macabre. Well, for all those videos out there that I do have links to, I guess I'll have to go back. At one time I was concerned because they were linked to my personal G, Google Drive account, and I didn't want to. I need to have an intermediary between me and you, and so I need to have a legal sort of entity between us two, and I don't want to be blamed for providing anyone viruses, which I don't, but just to be absolutely sure, I will be uploading a lot of my scores to other places out there. But Dark D Flame, if you want something, send me a link. Send me an email to my website, jonathanhumphries.com, jh@jonathanhumphries.com, and I will, tell you what you want, help you as much as I can. So yes, some of those links are dead. I need to go through all of my old videos. I did a review yesterday. I have uploaded almost 500 videos. I think I've done 568 videos. Right. Yeah, this YouTube game, you're welcome very much. This YouTube game is, gotta keep going it. A lot of those videos are private. I send to my students. Here's another one. Artino is the best practice mute for cello. And great thing about practice mutes, by the way, is you can also use them in ensembles listening to your accompaniments. Fabrizio Estevam, 8 months ago, wrote, I am an adult cello student and I have average soundproofing. Let's do this. Average soundproofing in one room just so I can practice without disturbing neighbors too much. I live in a building. Despite everything, I still did not want to feel completely comfortable. I still did not feel completely comfortable practicing in the early hours of the morning. I wonder how early that was. It was then that I watched this video about Artino. I became interested and bought it. It is fantastic. I need to point out it works far better than it looks in your video. For the first time, I feel completely free to practice anytime I want. Thank you very much for the tip, and please continue. Practice mutes are for your practice. You don't have to just, make your cello nice and quiet. They're there as well for really, practicing with accompanist as well. So sometimes you need to hear the second cello part. So if you're playing with another cellist or you're playing with a recording, take that practice, you put it on, and you'll be able to play and also listen to the accompaniment. I really want to bring that out. Another question on our live, something happened here. Here we go. There we go. For some reason that went that way. So, yes, practice mutes are great. Here we have a question from Johan Physio, 8 months ago. I know. Hey, I told you I was going to answer all of them. Very clear presentation on the instruction of elbow-knee bow relationships. And this is on the video, a better cello bow begins at your elbow. It would be nice to know why doing these things, leading with the elbow, coming out until you pass the knee, then extending the elbow, etc., is important to you. Otherwise, well done and thank you. Well, I love this question because a lot of times when I teach, I like to break things down in little parts, things that you can follow at home. It doesn't do you any good if I'm like, well, this is the way you do it. I like to break it down in every single detailed motion. And what's interesting about the cello, I'm just going to do this right here. I can bring up this. There we go. See what's happening? Now see my knee? It's funny. I didn't mean for this, it just so happened. This is my knee. So right when I pass that point, I want you to take notice of, again, have x-ray vision. Look right here in my body. See this bone, okay, the humerus bone. When I'm here, inside the knee, this part moves. Right? Watch what happens when I pass the knee. And stay outside the knee. It's suspended, and the primary motion comes from the elbow and the wrist. So I found that if we have the student experience bowing from their perspective, which is the entire core of my pedagogy. It's when I'm teaching you to experience the cello from your perspective, not mine. So when I teach you something in a video, you'll be able to follow along, watch what I do, and do the same thing. And so inside the knee, outside the knee, I see my knee, you see your knee. That rhymes. And so that just rhymes, the same word, Johnny. And that's going to help you. But another thing about this, why it isn't important to me, particularly the elbow, going back to the elbow right here, it has a lot to do with this motion, this motion of the actual bow. Now, to teach someone this motion right here, who has never ever done this, now I'm going to take this and then release, and then bring it back. See what's happening? I'm going to slow it down, and you're going to see that the hand follows the elbow. See how the elbow moves, and then there goes the wrist, and here goes the other direction. I'm now adding a little resistance. I'm holding the cello bow. Watch what happens. It's the elbow that moves, elbow, then wrist, and then bow. To the other direction, I'm pushing. Look at the wrist. And this resistance, this natural sort of giving in, of submitting to an invisible force. And now I'm going to do this right here. It feels, what does this feel like? Have you ever done this before? I was like, well, to my students, I'm like, I want them to experience this, to be able to understand that the primary motion comes from pulling your arm this direction and then doing this. And so I figured, why not make a video of it? And so this is me by a local stream. And a lot of times in your playing, what I want you to do is you go find a stream. And when you put your hand in water and you stiffen your wrist, do this. Find a rolling stream of water, find something that's flowing, and do this. Look at this video. It takes a lot of effort to keep that wrist straight and stiff. And so it's not necessarily natural to do this. What's natural is to let the hand drop and for the whole hand to be sort of released and then moved this direction. This is the natural flow of bowing, because bowing, cello bowing, is like literally bowing through water, moving your hand through water. You're not moving your hand like this, stiff back and forth, not at all. You want to succumb to the force of nature. You want your hand to flow like water, your arm to flow like water in both directions. So to best illustrate this, I figure, find a stream of water somewhere out there and then allow the hand to do what it naturally does. Everything you do on cello follows something you do in real life, whether it's creating music or playing the notes itself. It's like the human voice, and the cello bow is no stranger to that. So you saw me doing this right here. You saw me doing this motion in the water. And if you don't know what that feels like, then go and get yourself a body of water like I did here, and put your hand in the water and have that water really pull your arm and push out, and to really feel that, oh, when you're doing this, this takes a lot of effort to move your hand like this through the water. But if you do this, this is comfortable, this is relaxing. You're succumbing, you are submitting to the force of nature, that is the water. And here in cello, you submit to the force. And so this very much is the same motion. As if I have my hand in water and I'm just lazily doing this. It's the same thing. Take my bow. See, I'm using my left hand. And there's a lot of movement right here with the fingers, but the wrist is always leading this direction and this direction. And so yes, my obsession, or whatever you want to call it, why it is important to me, that's why Johann Physio has asked, is because and for all intents and purposes, when we're able to create a good tone, the more we're able to use each one of these parts of our body. then we're able to keep that bow in place. Okay, so that's very important that we do that. Okay. Sudha Rao says, how do I get a smooth, steady sound from the up bow? I found the downward bow play even better. And that's a good question that's coming from our live stream right now. How do I find a smooth, steady sound? And this is where I'm going to employ the use of my little chicken. All right, I found it. A smooth, steady bow at, where it says at the up, with the up bow right here. So a smooth, steady sound from the up bow. I'm going to be possibly utilizing that, but let's see. So we have the down bow, and that's the pull. First, if you start thinking about down bow and up bow, as erase that from your memory, think of pull and push. In French, it's tirer, pousser. And so en tirant, you're pulling this direction. Now on the up, it's the same thing, but you want to use that arm. You want to use that arm to come in. You want to use the elbow to come in. And as you're getting closer, you're getting less intense because your arm is getting heavier. If you don't lift your arm, it's going to come screeching and scratching and crunching to a fault. So, I have a dog here, I'm sorry. My apologies, this is a live stream and that will happen sometimes. Okay. Back to what I was doing. So on the up, let's say you stop here. The further you're out, you really have to dig in with your arm. Have the arm above the bow. Have the arm above it. Remember, if you're angling down, so your arm is weighing in. The further you're out, you have to give more presence to that. And so if you want to get better at a upward bow, start playing songs here in the upper half of your bow. Simple songs. It doesn't matter what it is. You know. Simple songs, but playing it there and then playing the same passage of music. And you'll feel that, oh wow, I have to use actually much less effort. Here, I even have to lift up. So when you start to experiment with different places and then get good at playing like that, maybe put a piece of tape right here in the middle or divide your cello bow into 3 parts so then you can know the middle half, the upper half, and the lower half. That's a little tip right there. Without seeing how you bow, again, based upon that comment, that's the best I can do for you. Let's go on for the next question. This one from 5 months ago concerning my East Coast teaching tour that I started in Washington, D.C. and ended in Sarasota, Florida. I drove off on the East Coast of the United States. Dominique Martinez asked, when will you be in Durham? And some person replied, I don't think he was. And the answer is, I went to Durham, North Carolina, and I went to the electric violin shop. And there's Mochi right there. And I forget his name for the gentleman who runs the electric violin shop, but there he is. And yes, I went there and it was a fantastic visit. I learned a lot about electric instruments and impulse responses, and this channel for the electric violin shop, they are definitely trailblazing into a world that, 20, 30, 40 years from now, it's going to be a lot more. So they are the true pioneers and trailblazers, and I was super excited to be there and meet his team. I forget your name, I'm sorry, but he was super kind and showed me around. So I went to Durham, North Carolina, and check out the electric violin shop. They are the world leader in electric stringed instruments, bowed instruments. So yes, I went to Durham, North Carolina. And these last, here we have one from the Cecilio Black Cello video I made some years ago on Amazon, right here, from Bass Killa. And I want to highlight some of these. I know it's a long one, but I want to highlight this because it is very important for me, because it's sort of core to what I'm all about. I'm in the market to purchase a beginner's cello because I'm not in the market for an upright bass right now. And I've been really researching this particular cello for the simple fact that I've always wanted an upright bass but could never afford one. But it is my understanding that even those cellos are tuned in fifths, that these can be tuned in fourths, which can give an extended range. And actually, the answer is when you have 4 strings and you're tuned in fourths, you're actually reducing the range, not extending the range. All right. So just a little detail there. You don't want to tune it in. You don't want to do that. I would mainly be using to play lower register notes like an upright. Hey, can't blame a guy for trying. But at the same time, I'm learning a lot about what goes on in the maintenance and care of these instruments as well. In all fairness, I'm a bass player for 30 years. I appreciate the transparency and honesty of your review, and I'm going for the purple cello they have. Purple Army Forever, Prince, take care, and thanks again. And so yes, if you have seen that video of me talking about this black cello on Amazon, I made a statement at the end, which is very important, sort of core to what I say. And EKX from 4 months ago really summarizes it quite well. I needed to hear those final words again. And in those final words, I talk about the affordability, the accessibility, and the fact that it's a beautiful, wonderful time to be playing these instruments, because instruments like this beautiful handmade master cello from Edgar Russ in Cremona are not accessible to a great majority of people out there. But this black cello on Amazon is. And if it gets you there, then go ahead and do it. And EKX really echoes this sentiment, because I needed to hear those final words. I'm 36, he says, never played an instrument. 2 years ago, after internal turmoil, I decided I wanted to play one. I chose the electric bass because I always preferred this part in music, and it's cheap, small, relatively easy for little work, because it's always a pleasure. But then one day, I thought about the upright bass. The price is still a big problem, and I know this is my truest calling one day. Today I talked to a violinist friend who mentioned the cello as an alternative. I never considered it, let alone knew which of the other 2 quote-unquote violins the cello was. Now I've spent my evening researching prices and watching videos, and this one came up. I was torn by the reality that you do have to put a bit of more money to get a better instrument that will require less upkeep. But I'm in the same situation as your student. I cannot afford a nice luthier-made work of art. I just want to learn to play and work and try stuff. If along the way I need a better instrument, then I'm start saving for a better instrument. I don't want to feel like I'm investing in something I might drop in 2 months. I need to make sure I like all the aspects of playing this instrument. The mental investment is much more important to me. And that last phrase right there, the mental investment is much more important to me. EKX, I am going to take that from you. I'm going to lift that from you. Thank you so much for your very genuine, lovely story, because This is what it's all about, the mental investment. I my story is one day I'll actually share it on the channel. When I hit 50,000 subscribers, I'll share this. But there was a time in my life that I didn't have cello. There was a time I was quite sad. And then I got cello again. But I certainly didn't have the income nor the money saved up to get an instrument of this caliber. And so I went online and bought a cheap laminate cello, very similar to these Amazon black cellos. At the time, Amazon wasn't selling stuff a lot online. Yes, I'm dating myself. And it wasn't the Amazon it is today. And I got a cello off Craigslist when Craigslist was popular. And I played the crap out of that thing. I put new strings on it, put new fingerboard, bridge, and I played it like crazy. And I love that instrument. I even used it as a part of my business card for the first years of having that instrument. It was a fantastic instrument. And yeah, it was one of these laminate, trade cellos from China. Not even a carved cello. It was a laminate cello. Laminate means it's painted, by the way. So you don't want a laminate, you don't want a painted cello. You want a cello that you can actually see the wood. So yeah, I had one of those instruments and I loved it because I was already mentally invested into the journey. I knew one day I would get back to my old playing style and I would get an instrument that was good. But I started on something basic and I loved it and I played it so much. And then I upgraded and upgraded and upgraded, and here I am who I am today. So thank you, EKX, for sharing your story. Okay, answering your comments still right now. So we do have a couple comments here. Jesper Van Devan, thank you for tuning in. And if any of you are tuning in who aren't subscribed to the channel, please subscribe and turn on notifications because that really helps me out. I've started using a vocal pitch monitor to check my intonation during warm-up. I've not heard a lot about people doing this. Is this bad practice? That's very interesting. I haven't heard of that. A vocal pitch monitor to check my intonation during warm-up. That's very interesting. I don't know anything about that. I really don't know. Yeah. So, but I do want to talk about something that I was addressing today with a student of mine, and what was super cool, what was super interesting, is that there is a type of way we play when it comes to cello. There is, and I'll bring this up and I'm going to touch upon it very lightly now, since we're talking about warming up and good and bad practices for intonation, because we're always trying to achieve that. We as cellists, now I'm going to turn on my Korg tuner right here, and okay, maybe even better, see if I'm embarrassed, because I'm usually, I'm not embarrassed right now. Okay, this is my app. It's free to beta testers. I'm going to demonstrate a little bit of this app to you, and what's interesting about what I'm going to show you is that I know it's not optimized, I don't have it all big right now. I'm going to play a simple, let's play a simple G major scale since I'm playing that one, and we're going to play the low octave one right there, simple G major scale. Okay, this is based upon equal temperament. Now if you don't know what that means, it's simply every frequency is tuned exactly to their given frequency. It's an equal temperament, average of 5.2 cents off. So it's an equal temperament app. But I discovered that we're going to have to add something to it because as cellists, we don't play equal temperament. We play something known as the Pythagorean tuning or relative tuning. And I want you to take a quick look at these intervals right here. In any scale that you have, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 different tones. And the first and the last, of course, being the same. In Pythagorean tuning, of course, you can go on Wikipedia and look this up. When we play, and I'm going to play just like we have here, I'm going to play a C major 1-octave scale. And I'm going to play it well-tempered. You're going to hear a difference between well-tempered and then Pythagorean or relative, which we kind of say that. Now, every single note sort of exists in its own little world. But in Pythagorean, you make the interval larger between your second and third degree, and then between your fifth and sixth and seventh degree, expanding those intervals. So in other words, your fingerings in the last two, your intervals will be pushed a little bit bigger, like this. Now, if you look at something, I'm playing this sharp. That's on the sharp side. And if you look at the notes, it's the first, the fourth, and the fifth note. You want to be really good in tune. And today, I actually had an absolute breakthrough with one of my students there in Australia, the one who got the skull cello. And I asked him, stop trying to be in tune for all the notes. Be in tune for the first, the fourth, the fifth, and make these spaces, these intervals bigger. Because we don't have keys, and because we're very much like the human voice, use this Pythagorean tuning, this relative tuning, and you might find it more pleasurable to be in tune. You can't do it double stops and chords per se, but for basic intonation, this is going to help you. Anyway, I just want to talk quickly about that because I think it's something important, and we're going to add that feature in the app in the foreseeable future. Okay. Enough of that. Answering your comments, back to this right here. Looks like Tia says that's exactly why I bought my 3/4 size cello. It's also laminate. Veneer laminate, it's the same thing. When you have a laminate instrument, means that it has a varnish on it that is very thick and clear, almost like it's laminated. So yeah, like that. Mr. Buttons, hello, welcome to the stream. Hello, I'm a beginner cellist and quite quickly went through the grades. I'm at grade 3 right now, but how do we deal with stress through exam playing? Fantastic question right there. Right, and Joan Coyne? How do you become a beta tester? Just send me an email and I'll put you on the list. And hopefully I've not taught about tuning in that way yet. And you're welcome, Jasper Devan. And, you know, the thing about my whole channel is we're all on this world of music discovery. And I really want to create Cello Coach app to not only provide you the best in training when it comes to, certain songs, but also be more applicable. So Pythagorean tuning in addition to well-tempered, will definitely be an option there in the app. So back to Mr. Buttons. How do we deal with the stress through exam playing? Without knowing any extra about your stress, my good sir, Mr. Buttons, how do you deal with stress? And I have a video about that as well, talking about how not to be nervous when you perform for people. How do you do stress? In playing in general, you have what we call the fourth wall. The first is stage right, stage left, that's right according to you, stage back, stage rear, and then the fourth wall is this stage, you, right there, you guys, the audience, you're the fourth wall. So when you're preparing anything, you have to find comfort and joy in that process of not only, people say, breaking down the fourth wall, or maybe scaling the fourth wall, but the fourth wall is those people. Those people that are just beyond the darkness watching you, the eyes judging you, the judges, you know? And so how you break that down is, you can prepare as much as you want, but when you get in front of that fourth wall, if you haven't prepared and mentally invested the time into breaking down this fourth wall, then you may find some hiccups when you get in front of that. And because one thing is to perform, but then get in front of, like, judges or stuff like that. And I know what it's like. In high school, I competed in a nationwide competition in the United States for a scholarship, which I was awarded to University of California, Santa Cruz. It was a wonderful scholarship for cello and chamber music. And I had to send in an audio tape, so that was the first wall I had to deal with, is the microphone, which I have one right here. This microphone really right at me, so I started practicing a lot with the microphone and started practicing in front of different people. And eventually I got comfortable, practicing and recording with the microphone stuck on me when I got to the recording studio. So that was one of the walls I had to break down. But then I flew out to California to do the live part of the competition in front of a bunch of people I had never seen before, and in a huge auditorium with a pianist I'd never played with before. You want to talk about exam playing? This was for a good, $60,000. It was a very important day, and I needed to perform. I needed to perform well. And so, how I got through that day? When you are in your own zone, you block out everything. When you're so prepared for something, you can't let things get in your head. And a good example of this, if you're a fan of sports, watch any sports team as they arrive to their locker rooms, as they arrive to their dressing rooms, in their visiting stadiums or arenas where they go. And when you watch them come in, they have the sports stars, they have their headphones on, they're listening to something, they're zoned out in their own world. And that's what you need to be. But your music isn't in the headphones, it's in your head, it's in your fingers. So when I got up there, I had all of 1 hour to perform with this. Not even that, like barely an hour to rehearse with this guy, and just went up there and played. I don't even think I rehearsed with him. I just went up there on the stage with a complete stranger and performed. I played for myself. Whatever works for you. For me, I went up there. I wanted to do good. I looked out there, and the judges were way out there in the auditorium. Auditorium was massive. And I'm just sat down there. I looked at this stranger of a pianist in a strange place, Santa Cruz, California, me being from Texas, and I just played because I knew what I wanted. I knew exactly what I wanted. I was so laser focused on it, almost like tunnel vision, right? And of course you rehearse so much to that point that when you get there, you're like that horse on the racetrack with the blinders. Only thing in front of you is the results of that exam. So that's my long-winded answer to you, Mr. Buttons. How do you deal with stress? You're so much zoned into that. And any doubt you cast away from you. It's not an option. Failure is not an option. You must play well. You have one take, and that's it. You have one chance. You don't have two chances, you have one chance. But here's another thing about your exam plan. And this is one thing I realized later on. The people listening to your exam, the judges out there, they want you to do good. They don't want you to do bad. They want you to sound good. Entertain us. The audience out there, some of them have paid to see you. They've taken time out of their day, precious time out of their lives, to enjoy your organic creation of music. So be part of the process and enjoy your role. It's a very happy place to be. So entertain them. No one wants you to fail. So when you go to your next exam and you see your teacher, don't stress. Shutting up my dog, Mochi. Don't stress. Your teacher wants you to do good. Your colleagues want you to do good. The judges want you to do good. They want everyone to do good. They want to sit there with oh, this decision's really hard. You know, they want to have hard decisions to make because everybody did great. There, of course, they can find mistakes. Of course, you're going to make opportunities for improvement. But your teachers, your exam givers, your judges, your colleagues, your friends, your family, they all want you to do good. Ever been in front of someone that has forgotten their music and it's kind of cringy? You don't want to be that. So don't even think about that. Get through it. And as I always say to myself before every single video, entertain them. Entertain them. All right, Mr. Buttons. That was a really long answer. Thanks, I really needed this. I was playing my piece and almost every note was staccato. It came out really stressful, but I found a way, the beauty in it as well. And I'm going to extend that out to you as well. Thank you, Mr. Buttons, for answering that. Recently, I was, again, for those of you following the channel, I have been really struggling with this injury, both emotionally, but also a sort of a mental thing and physical thing too. I was recently playing some Bach for one of my students, and I wanted to play it good, and I realized I was struggling here. I'm not at the level I used to be. Honestly, I'm not at the level I used to be. I'm getting there, okay? I'm slowly getting there. And I was playing, and I started to feel this staccato, started to feel my bow get, you know, nice and stuck, and I started really stressing because about the middle part of that, very slow, I'll get it faster. I like it slow. By the prelude to the suite 2, I started feeling some discomfort. And I realized, Johnny, the problem is here. The problem isn't here. So to partition your brain out, you don't need to have a problem. When you have a problem here and you're struggling here, don't let it come here. You have two parts of you, two parts of your brain going in and out. Allow this to always keep the inertia going. Don't lose it. Keep the inertia going. Okay, there's a lot of little tricks I'm going to share with you. I learned from my teacher here in France that I'm going to share with you guys concerning using your bow and tricking your brain into playing less stuck in staccato. Mochi? No. She's right here. Mochi? No babies. Okay. Anyway, thank you. I've not taught. So, hello, Alicia again. Did you memorize your piece or did you read the music? Which piece was it? I also have performance anxiety. I played this. Of course I had it memorized. I haven't played that in years. The D major Haydn cello concerto first movement. Everything was memorized. Of course everything was memorized. Of course. You know, everything was memorized. So yes. Anyway. It's funny. All the best music you have in this world, all the best is music you know by memory, because then when you eliminate the need to look at any score right here, I'll change. No, babies, it's okay, babies. I know. When you eliminate the need to look at a score, you eliminate this whole like process. You can get away from the music stand and get here into this right here. Simon English, thank you for joining us, Simon. Second time in a live stream. Looking forward to having a lesson with you again. What tips do you have for memorizing music? I love that idea. I'm going to bring up a random song. Let's see right here, a random song that I am. I don't know. Let's pick something, anything, something that. So, when you're memorizing really anything, you want to have, I say, at least most of the music memorized. You don't have to have all of it memorized, but I definitely recommend most of it memorized. So when you're, I'm going to pull up something here, that's something from my list. Where's my list? Where is it? Find something real quick. Here's a good example. I love this right here. I love this Capriccio number 1, the Capriccio Primo. So right here, this Capriccio Primo. Here's a good example of a score I absolutely love, and I have well practiced, well done, but I don't have it completely memorized. Most of it's quite repetitive. And so here in the second part, what I call the fog, the darkness. So I'm hearing. And so there, I don't have that memorized. I have the whole first page memorized and the rest of it memorized, but I don't have that part. And so the beginning and the end, go through it where you're comfortable. And let's say, okay, I looked at it once. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to now look at it one more time and only look up when I have to, okay? So I'm just going to do that one more time. And every repetition you do this, get further away, force your eyes to avert from the score. And then what I think is you want to think or play abstractly, in abstractions. Okay? Sorry about this, sorry. This is great. This is rich. I'm like screaming at my dog while I'm trying to teach classical cello. All right, so we want to think in abstractions. What do I mean by abstractions? This whole part, there's bar 3, there's bar 2, so I'm thinking bar chords, I'm thinking pain, I'm literally thinking pain right here, and then there's a lot of this right here. So again, further and further away from the music, abstractly think about it. Whatever you comes to mind when it comes to a certain song, that's what you want to do. You want to get further and further away from all these notes and all of the score stuff, so eventually you can get into it. See, I'm not a hum. they don't have it yet. And so it's going to take some time for me to get back completely, committed to memory, but it could be there. But when you do memorize something and you're recalling it, you're not thinking about, finger intonation, you have all that built. You're not thinking about bowings. All the bowings the same, all the fingering is the same, everything is very predictable. What you're thinking about in my brain is I'm thinking completely abstractly. I'm thinking this motion here, I'm thinking, for instance, in the prelude, of the Bach prelude we all love to learn, you have right here, this little part in the Bach prelude. It's a 1, 03, 04. So I'm thinking hop, 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 zeros across that. And I think about this pivot. And launching off right there after a nice extended thing. Thinking abstractions, that's the best as I can do it. And of course, try it 5 times. Tips for anyone with dyslexia. I'm really struggling reading music. I have taught people with severe ADHD and dyslexia. I've even taught people with one arm and some people that are also blind. So let's take it a step further. How would you teach a person music if they can't see the cello? Huh? Yes, Mochi, that's mine. Let's take it out. Let's take it to a step further. Let's take it a step further. Dyslexia is which I believe like some things get jumbled in your head. What if you can't? What if you can't even see? Close your eyes. Eliminate what you have found to be the problem in your visual sort of understanding of the code, with the code being the music here. Then take it away. Eliminate it completely. Learn by listening. Learn by watching. One of my students in Austin, Texas, Nadine, has just a problem with a concentration. She gets fatigued very quickly. She had brain surgery, and so she learns very well by listening and repeating and watching me play. But she can see it, but it just goes in one ear and out the other. She sees it and it doesn't stick. So when she listens to something, she learns it better. That's going to be, really good, helpful for anyone who has a problem literally reading the notes. The fact of the matter is, our world is all about notes. So you have to learn your scales, you have to learn your arpeggios, you have to learn things of that nature. Okay, you're welcome for the tips, Simon, and you're welcome to everyone who has tuned in today. I'm going to be signing off from my wonderful thing here. You're welcome, Tia. And so I'm going to see if I can play anything I've never played before. Yeah, there's some really pretty stuff out there. You're welcome. Bye, everyone. There's a really pretty piece. I've been playing something super easy. I know. Where is it? This one here. So, for those of you that have tuned in, thank you. I appreciate it. Appreciate any of you and all of you that have participated and watched my live stream. Bye, everyone. Thank you again for tuning in. My name is Jonathan. I'm your cello coach. You're going to see a lot more of me. And thank you again for lasting. Thank you again for watching. Thank you for subscribing and sharing. You are blessed to have cello in your life and music too. I'm blessed to have you. Take care wherever you are in the world. And I hope you continue to enjoy this wonderful world of music as you travel along your own journey of music discovery. Bye-bye. And to my little pup, thank you for being quiet, little Mochi Moch. I really appreciate you being quiet. I know. Mochi Bo. Be quiet, Mochi Bo. Be quiet, babies. I know. Thank you for being quiet.